Hello, Troglodyte tribe, and welcome back. This week we are talking with Ewan Cunningham. Welcome, Ewan. Thank you ever so much for meeting us. Where are you
Thank you very
today?
much for having me. Today I'm in Spain. I'm here for like the summer, visiting my girlfriend. So yeah, I've been here and enjoyed the really warm weather.
Excellent, very good. And so, just where do you live normally?
Well, it's a bit weird. I live in Germany right now. Like my home is in Hamburg, which I've lived there for like the last 2 years. But I do travel like quite a lot. Like I'm in Spain now quite a lot, but maybe at some point I will move back to the UK or somewhere. I just like to live in different
Yeah,
places.
yeah. There you go. You're a man of the world. You're not just
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Brilliant. So, I mean, just a little bit of background on how we got to meet briefly last year. Um, I don't know, a lot of the Troglodyte tribe will have seen on the channel, there is a series of videos to do a live in Pompeii recreation in a field in the north of England, which happened last September. And we released it on the anniversary of the recording, the 50th anniversary of the recording in October. And the band that was there was Steve McElroy and Friends, and you were one of the friends. You were on the drums.
Yeah, I was on the drums. Yeah, I mean that was incredible. Like I've known Steve for a few years now, and he mentioned like before in the past, like oh, like I would love to one day like recreate Pompeii and whatever. And he even mentioned like going to Pompeii and like filming in the amphitheater, which I thought that's never going to happen. Like to get permission to do that, that's a different thing. But when he asked me to come along do this thing like with all the PA and the like official equipment, I was like, yes, okay, I'll do it. I don't care like what I'm doing there. I just want to at least see it. I didn't even care about taking part.
It was just
But
straight, yes, I'm in. No matter what it is, I'm in.
yeah. Well, I mean, at first, like it wasn't even that we were going to play songs. I think he said we were going to go there and like he was going to get interviewed. Steve was going to get interviewed and like maybe he would show a bit of him playing like guitar. And then that was it. Then it moved on to like there's going to be like interviews and we're going to play echoes. I was like, oh, okay, that's a step up. And then it was like we're going to do 4 songs, like all the Pompeii songs, full sets, full echoes, and everything. So I was like, yes, this is my thing.
Like, it kind of developed as an idea very, very quickly. It was like in July of last year, I met with Chris Hewitt and I did those Hendrix interviews, looking at the equipment. And he mentioned that he's got all this Pink Floyd stuff and he'd love to do a recreation of the Live in Pompeii in this field. And straight away I was like, right, okay, let's make this happen. How do we get this to move along as an idea into an actual thing? And like you said, it was a case of we were just going to set the equipment up and then just have a look at the gear. And then it was like, oh, Steve McElroy might pop down as well. It's like, oh wow, brilliant, okay. And then he might bring some friends with him. Oh, brilliant, okay. And they might play a song through it. It literally just every day was like okay, and now we're doing a full set in the afternoon. It was just
And
brilliant.
then, to be honest, like I got told about it very short notice that we were going to be playing instruments, and at that point I hadn't played drums in I don't know maybe even 2 years. I hadn't properly played the drums, and like although drums is like my main instrument, so like I'm more comfortable with that, I would say. It was pretty scary. Like just all of a sudden the full band is set up there and we just have to go and play it. It's all being recorded. And I was like, I don't know exactly like how they do echoes, like what timings and stuff they want. I just kind of winged it.
That was the other question, is because when I spoke to like Steve the day before, I went and picked up the gong a few days before, which obviously was just amazing because who gets to play with a gong nowadays? And then he said, "Yeah, I've got to go and pick this amazing young lad up from the airport, and then we're coming straight over." And I'm thinking, what rehearsal time did you have? What did you get any rehearsal time? Was that it?
No, that was it. Like I think I don't even think I even asked them about like I think when we were there ready to go, I was maybe asking so like what kind of pace do you do? Because I'd seen like their live performances of Echoes and it's slower than the Pompeii one, and I'm really used to that, like the tempo. So I was like, do you want me to slow it down a bit or whatever? But now like after it, I remember talking to Ricky, the bass player, and he said like, oh, I really like that. It was like a much faster version. And I was like, okay, I went fast.
Wow. I mean, it was impressive before, but now knowing that that was your first take.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, like I've played it so many times
Yeah.
myself that, it couldn't be that bad.
I don't know if you know, but that event that we did was nobody got paid. It's completely, it was everybody just did it for the passion. And I went and spoke to the camera guys and the sound guys and went, look, I can't offer you any money, but all I can offer you is a day that you'll never get to repeat again. You know what I mean? This is going to be something special if you fancy being part of it. And then we all watched it. It was like, how do you get that tracking shot without spending a fortune?
Yeah.
And
what did you use again? Like, you had rails? I remember a little rail.
Yeah. So what we found is like it's for ladders. So it's wheels and a camera base. And so you put your camera onto it, and the four wheels lock into a set of ladders. So the only money we really spent was £250 to buy this piece of equipment so that we can do that tracking shot. But that was the one where you're like, how do we do this? And just that back shot of you guys playing as well. Because it's just that great shot as you come into shot and you see the drums going,
it's so epic.
There is one bit on that day which is my favorite bit, and I was like, when I was editing it, I was like, Jen, you got to see this. Watch that. It's the way you turn around to Steve and you just give him this like very gentle nod. It was just that whole communication that musicians get when they're playing live together, just by a simple look of, right, here we go.
It was probably me panicking and like not really knowing exactly when he wanted me to change, because like I didn't know, because especially with that long build up, like after like at the start of part 2 of Echoes, like it goes on forever, and I don't think there is like a set amount of bars or beats like they ever did it like Pink Floyd. So, and I don't know how I know that when they play it usually like they are very specific with their timing. So I was like, when do you want me to come in? I'll do it whenever you say, just nod.
It was just a great look because you both nailed it exactly on the, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, there we go. It's on. Yeah, it's brilliant.
The part that I like is in One of These Days, like, and Steve, I think when he watched it, he thought that like, because in the real One of These Days in Pompeii, he like drops his stick, doesn't he, at one point, or the Echoes or so. But what actually happened in One of These Days was the snare drum, because at the start you have the snare drum turned off, so it's just like a tom, and like it was like that. And then once we got into the actual beat, it was still in the tom mode. So I was like kind of panicking. I was like, I have to get back into the snare. So like I think I would use my right hand to hit the snare, and I was like doing the lever. So it looks like you can see me just do it, and it's
brilliant,
authentic.
You are a multi-instrumentalist, and everybody who's seen you on YouTube will have seen that you do play you do play everything and sing. You do the full suite. I mean, you could have stepped into any role on that day and done those parts. You say online it says that you started drums at 4. Can you just tell us a little bit more about how you got started with all of this?
My dad's a guitarist, and I think at that age, or even 3, I was just like hitting things like pots and pans. Like I would lay them out, and then pillows would be like cymbals and stuff. So at that age, I was doing that. And then for Christmas, when I was 4, my parents, I think my dad said, "Oh, let's get him a drum kit," and my mum was like, "No way!" Like the noise and everything, bad idea. So they got me they went to Argos and got like the cheapest plastic drum kit that they could find. And by the end of Christmas night, it was destroyed. Like I hit it so hard, and because I think I had real drumsticks and like real heavy wood drumsticks on a plastic kit, just to destroy it. So I destroyed it, and then I think they took it back and somehow got like a partial refund. I don't know how they did that. So then my dad was like, well, let's get him a real kit, like a junior, but like a metal one. And then so I got one of those, and then from there I just played. Like I didn't go to lessons or anything. I just kept playing. And that was basically it. Like I played always. I think one year when I was like becoming a teenager, I kind of got bored. And I was like, I don't want to play drums anymore. But no, I went back, The
kits that you got, I mean, how often did you upgrade sort of the kits, and where do you rest now with your kits?
Like I can't really remember exactly what the first junior kit was. I mean, there's pictures and videos. I could even send you some of me playing like as a 5-year-old or whatever. And then I moved to I think when I got a proper kit, it was a CB drum kit or something. Like not a big brand. And then, because I remember going to the shop and it was like a second-hand one, and I just saw it. And then I think I got a Pearl kit after that. It was second-hand. And then after that, I moved on to my white Tama kit.
Right.
Like I just saw that online, and I saw like the white drum kit with the black rims, and I thought that looked so cool. So I bought that in 2011, I think, and that's the drum kit I've had ever since. So I've only had like maybe three since I was like 3 or 4 since I was age 4.
And you keep it fairly minimal as a kid, don't you? I mean, you're not Bozio, you're not just toms everywhere, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like the room that we have it, like back in my parents' house where I grew up, is like so small. It's like our studio, you know, it has like the desk and stuff, but it's so small you can't fit much in, you know, if you want to move about. And like, you know, as a drummer, I think people tend to like change their setup every now and then. Like they get bored of like, you know, maybe they go through a phase of having like a million cymbals and toms everywhere. Then they're like, I want to be like a jazz drummer, and then they just take everything away. You have like one tom. And yeah, I think that's the current setup right now, is like 2 toms and 2 cymbals.
Brilliant. I mean, on the day then we did the recording, we borrowed a friend's kit of mine, and we brought the cymbals down, and those cymbals are actually my cymbals from my little kit. And
oh, really?
I like them kind of dirty and older sort of thing. And I said to you, I know a lot of modern players keep them all very shiny and everything, and I did apologize to you, and your first response was, no, that's great. It keeps it more like the original. It keeps that kind of
exactly. Like I love the sound of the cymbals from like the 70s, that like they're big and heavy and dirty, like you say. I mean, I've got one, like I do have new cymbals back home, but on my drum kit there is one ride cymbal that I've got, and I think it's like, what's it called? It's like a paste or however you say, 602, Formula 602, and it's like quite a vintage one from the 70s or something.
Yeah.
So I'm just holding on to that in case it goes up in value.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's
one of those things you see people go to clean, and I'm like, no, don't clean it. That's the sound.
Yeah, exactly. It's got like decades of drumsticks hits on it, you know.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then, so obviously you play guitar, bass, your drums, keyboards, you sing. What was your next instrument? So once you started drums at 4, and you're saying that your dad's a guitarist. Mm-hmm. And so did you play with your dad then? Was that sort of like a little house band sort of thing?
I would say much, really. I mean, my dad was in a band, so like often I would go to see, I would like help them set up and stuff, which I also really liked. I love watching like a band set up all the equipment, like putting the lights up. So I remember like going and helping with that. But I don't remember playing drums so much with them, like sometimes. But also at the age of like 5 or 6, like he also did get me a guitar, like a junior sized. It was like a small Yamaha electric, but like I never really played it because my fingers were just so small. I just couldn't do any chords and stuff. Like I remember playing Horse with No Name by America, and that was the only thing I really played because it was like just 2 easy chords. But I didn't really play at all. And then it wasn't until, I don't know, I was what year would I say, 2015. That's when I got really like into Pink Floyd and that kind of stuff, like really into it. And then I was like really interested in guitar. So I was like, because I was playing drums by then, and I was doing like YouTube cover videos, like just drum covers. Yeah. And I'm like, it'd be good if I could just do my own cover, like do everything. So I was like, well, I need to learn how to play guitar. So I was like, I asked my dad like if he's got any like acoustic guitars that he could just like give me, because he's left-handed, so I can't play any of his guitars.
Right. Okay. So
it's a problem. But he had this. He had his very first. I think it was his very first acoustic guitar, like a nylon string, and you can just, because the nut is just the same, you can just switch the strings. So he did that to make it right-handed for me. Brilliant. And then I started playing on that. And that was good in a way because it was so difficult to play. It was like the widest neck you can imagine, super thick. So even as like an adult, you can't really get your fingers around it. But it was good to learn on because of that, because it made everything else seem super easy. Yeah. So yeah, I just started learning on that when I was, 2015. So I was 17. And then like a year later, I saw a guitar on eBay. Like I just go by looks really. Like I saw this red guitar with a black scratch plate, and I thought, That's cool. Like, I
Is
love
that burgundy Strat that you play?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the one
yeah,
that played in Echoes and everything. So I bought that, and then that was like my first electric that I played on. So from there, yeah, I just started learning like everything Pink Floyd and Hotel California. Um, yeah, and from there, I mean, like, and also at that time, I was like recording a lot. So I was, even though I was just learning guitar, I was just like recording everything and doing like little guitar covers. And looking back, they're not great, but I was only playing for like a year or two, and then I also like picked up my dad's bass, which is left-handed, so I play the bass upside down.
yeah. Do you really?
Yeah, like I get lots of comments in the Echoes video like, what's wrong with that bass? Like, why is he playing it upside down? But it's the only bass we
That's
have.
it.
So
There's a left-handed bass in the house. I've got to do something. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah. So I was like, well, there's only 4 strings, so it's a bit easier than a guitar playing upside down. So yeah, I actually don't really know how to play a right-handed bass, just the left-handed.
Wow. Okay. And
Yeah.
how did your brain process that with the EADGV sort of upside down tuning? Was you just naturally work with that, or?
Yeah, I just didn't really think about the chords really.
Okay.
I just like when I was learning it, like I can play guitar and drums well, but like when it comes to bass and piano, like I usually just have to learn the song I want to do.
Right.
Then I
Okay.
typically forget it because they're not instruments I play a lot. Like I don't have a piano, so I would love to like be able to practice all day and stuff.
Yeah.
But with the bass, it was just like if I'm learning Echoes, then for the next 2 weeks I'll just try and play Echoes, and it's like I just remember like kind of muscle memory, like where everything goes.
Right.
And that's how I do that.
Amazing.
It's a bit strange, but it works.
So on the guitar, do you ever mess around with different tunings on the guitar, or do you stay to standard, or do you move around?
Yeah, I've done that before. Like especially on acoustic. Like sometimes I just get bored of playing, normal songs, or there's like a song that I really like, and I realize it's in a different tuning. Like I did a cover of Jackson Browne's "Running on Empty." It's like one of my favorite songs, and like I was trying to figure it out just at first, and I was like, how does he do this? And I realized it's like in a really weird tuning, and you've got all these weird, like, well, they're actually really simple chord shapes, but because it's in a weird tuning,
right?
So I had to do that for that cover, which was a bit annoying because like it was only a guitar I really had at the time, so like for that month or few weeks, like all I could play was that song.
Yeah,
that
was it.
With that tuning.
That's the tuning. If it's
Yeah. So
it's otherwise it's just really awkward, and strings start snapping when you keep changing them all the time.
Yeah. Don't change it too often, but I dabble a bit with that. Yeah.
And when did the keys come in?
Keys. When did I first start to play? I think it was maybe with Echoes. Really, I can't think of a cover before that I really needed to do the keys. I mean, like we had this like Yamaha really cheap 30-pound keyboard. I think it used to be my brother's. Like when he was a kid for a while, like he tried to play the piano a bit and stuff, and then it's just always been in the house, and it's terrible. It's the worst thing. Like the sounds are awful. And so yeah, I had this, and I was like, okay, I'm going to record Echoes. I'm going to do the whole thing. So I think I actually started with the keyboard. Like I was recording like the the little piano. What do you call them? Like submarine sounds.
Yeah.
And like the piano sound is okay, but like there's so many keyboard sounds, especially in Echoes, like all the organs and farfisas, and getting them on the keyboard was probably the hardest thing. It was just like what I would do is like learn like how to play it first, and learn how to play it, record it, and then once it was in like Cubase, just mix the crap out of it, like just put on so much EQ, so many effects, like so much distortion, just to really try and make it sound close to the original record, or Pompeii. But it was difficult, really difficult.
So I was going to ask, are you Logic or are you Cubase? So you're Cubase, and is that kind of, you stayed with that all the way through? Yeah. It's
just because like the first computer we had in the house, I think my dad got, like, it came free with the sound card back then. Cubase LE, like the light version. So we always had that, and I just learned it all the time.
So technology is something you obviously have quite an exceptional grasp of. I mean, you look at your YouTube video. I mean, I'm going to put a link on the screen now. This is the infamous video that we're talking about. This is you playing Echoes all by yourself in a hall. Remind me of where that was again. It was
It's called the Dobby Hall, and it's in my hometown, like Stenhousemuir. So it's
Okay.
like
And how
literally.
did you just get in touch with them and go, look, I want to do this?
Well, it's like a venue, like they do concerts and theater, so you can just
Yeah.
rent it out, for the day or so. But
Okay.
it's interesting. Like originally, the video wasn't going to be filmed there,
Right.
and I had this ambitious idea of doing it like by a nice loch, like in Scotland, and like beautiful scenery. And like I was like on Google Maps, like looking at places to go, and I picked one out, but it was quite far away. It was like an hour and a half away, or 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And I like convinced my parents and my brother to like take all of this equipment. We had a drum kit. We had like a mixing desk and like every guitar and all the mic stands, enormous. And we went to this loch. And then when we got there, we realized like the actual loch was at the bottom of a very, very steep
Oh
hill. So
no.
like we started like taking the equipment down, which was hard. And I actually still feel very sorry for my dad, like taking all that gear down. And like we filmed some stuff like, but then I underestimated like how quickly the camera would run out of battery, and everything just kind of like failed basically.
Yeah.
There is one video, like I did a cover of Grantchester Meadows, and it's just
Okay.
like the acoustic, and that was there.
Right.
That was that day. So you can show that.
So you left with something. All that
Left with
effort was
something.
you got something from it.
Yeah, I think that was like my plan B. I was like, I'd already recorded it. I was like, well, if this doesn't go well, I'll just sit down and film this. And you can actually see in the video, it's like raining as well, which like I had cameras and batteries outside, and I was like, this is not going to end well. So I was like disappointed. I was like, oh, it's not going to work. So then I thought, like, well, where can we do it? And I think my grandma was the one that said, just go to the Dobby Hall or something. So I was like, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Just go there, set up for like the whole day. You've got constant power, the camera's not going to run out, and just film.
You've got control of the light. The clouds aren't coming over.
Yeah, and it's all consistent. Like the lighting is the same throughout the day, so it was good. I think I rented it out for 8 hours, like thinking I would do 3 songs: Echoes, Careful with the Axe, and Saucerful of Secrets.
Yeah.
And I'd like planned out like kind of rough schedules of like I have to get this done, and I have to like do these shots and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I think I was constantly filming for 8 hours. Like my mom and dad, I think, they were there the whole time. And like my mom had like sandwiches, and she said like, you never stopped once. You only stopped to eat a sandwich, and you didn't even stop. You just like, you were still like tightening things while eating a sandwich. Because you underestimate how long it takes to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when there's like your 4 people, like you're filming 4 versions of you. You have to play like basically the whole song 4 times.
Yeah. And it's not the shortest song in the world, is it?
No, so like 4 times 25, basically, that's a lot of time. And so I was trying to be efficient with it. Like I knew like some shots were just going to be like on the guitar. So I was like, well, I'm not going to film the whole keyboard part if this part's only going to be showing the guitar,
Right.
So
Yeah.
like kind of plan it out to be time efficient.
So you've done a proper schedule, filming schedule for the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's keeping track of all those shots as well. I mean, so you've got, how many cameras did you have for the event?
1 or 2.
Okay. So like that long shot, but the 4 of you sort of there, did you film all 4 of those first and then go around and do the individual shots after, sort of thing?
I think so, because I think that long shot, the wide angle, then I think that's only used at the start and at the end. So I knew I only had to do like the first 3 minutes and then the final 3 minutes.
Right.
So like I took my big camera and put it on like the balcony because I had like the perfect angle really.
Yeah.
And like I think I filmed like a wide angle and maybe played the guitar. And then for the drums, because it zooms into the drums, I actually like zoomed the camera in, but kept it in the exact same position.
Right. Okay.
So then I could just like superimpose that close up onto like the wide angle, and then I did the same for the bass and then the keyboard, but just like the camera was in the exact same position, and I just filmed, like ran down, did the guitar part, did the keyboard part, and then added it all together.
Perfect.
You just have to like cut out and like crop around so you don't see the lines,
Yeah. What video editing software did you use for it?
Adobe Premiere.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that something you just always use? Because you've been doing video editing for a long time now, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been doing it since I was like 10, I think. But when I started out, I was on Windows Movie Maker.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people start out, which is like very old school. And then I think I remember using a thing called Cyberlink Power Director.
Okay.
Which was, it was like it had all the same things that like Premiere has, basically, like the basics, but it was kind of dodgy back then. Like, it didn't work so well or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was good. Like, it taught you the basics, and then I just eventually moved to Premiere Pro.
But I mean, to have the vision to do that, and then to see the results you got from it and the way the world reacted. I mean, how did that feel?
Oh, really good. I mean, I was kind of surprised that no one had done it like that before, really. And it was like this such a grand idea. It was like Echoes, you know, it's the big epic, like, you know, and
you went big. I mean, you went big from the start, didn't you? Like, I'm going to do the long track with myself in 4K, playing every instrument. I mean, this isn't like dipping your toe in. This is going full bore.
Yeah, well, I'm obsessed. Like, when I have an idea, I get obsessed with it, especially like stuff like that. And I was obsessed with Pompeii, so I knew that if I was going to do it, not only did it have to sound like Pompeii, it had to have every shot like just like Pompeii and stuff. You know, everything apart from like the tracking shots, which you just can't do if there's 4 of you.
Yeah.
Every shot I tried to make like exact, you know.
All right, so you did this video, you uploaded it. I mean, and it's got a lot of views.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, how many views? Let me just get this up now. It's well, for the startup, your channel's got 58,000 subscribers, which is just amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And so when did you start your YouTube channel? It was clearly before all this. So how long was the lead in before you dropped your Echoes?
Well, before even that channel, I had a music channel. It was called like Musiex or something like that. Like,
okay.
I think I started it when I was 11 or so, and I was just doing drum covers then. And then in 2012, I think I started that channel. And I think the first video was like my dad actually doing like a Coldplay cover on acoustic.
Okay.
And then after that, I just did like drum covers every now and then of songs I liked at the time. And then I think I stopped, and then I came back in 2014 and did like a Dire Straits cover of the Sultans of Swing, but the Alchemy version, the live one. And it's like super upbeat compared to the original. And that one like did really well. So I was like, oh, I should do this again. And I had like my GoPro, and I got really into like filming. At one point I was doing like one drum cover every week. And then like I started to like kind of run out of songs that I wanted to do, you know. And I think that was also what kind of encouraged me to like do like full band covers, you know. Like, I've done every drum cover I want to like, you know, do a bit more. I want to do like guitar covers now. So but yeah, that channel is my oldest channel for sure. I mean, I've had a lot of YouTube channels in my life, like just doing random things like gaming. Like, I had a gaming YouTube channel at one point.
Okay.
And well, my very first YouTube channel was when I was in primary school, and I was doing like just funny little videos. Like, I did a parody song of a Kesha song, and it was like semi-popular in school. Like, everyone knew the lyrics to this parody that I made, and I remember one day we were on a school trip, and like everyone was singing it on the bus, and it was like, oh, cool, yeah. But I also remember, like, at that time, the internet was kind of, you know, people didn't understand it so much. And I remember in class, our teacher was giving us a lesson like on internet safety, and she was like, don't put your face on the internet. And meanwhile, I was there with like a YouTube channel with my face all over it. I was like, oh, oops.
A little bit late for that one.
I've always loved doing YouTube, and just it's a nice feeling when you upload a video and it gets views and comments, and people react to it. It's just,
I mean, you're currently on 574,000 views. I mean, that's just insane. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, incredible. Yeah.
And then we touched on it briefly when I searched earlier for Ewan Cunningham Wikipedia. The first one is actually Echoes, but it's not Ewan Cunningham Echoes. It's Echoes. It's about the Pink Floyd track.
Yeah.
And then you've got a mention on cover versions. It says British musician Ewan Cunningham covered Echoes in 2017 and uploaded a YouTube video which featured him playing all the parts himself. The cover was heavily based on the Live in Pompeii version and went on to receive praise from Mason, who humorously said, "Looks like we're all out of a job." I mean, you're getting feedback from Floyd, you're getting feedback from Mason. I mean, how did you first hear about that?
I think I just saw it on Facebook or something, or maybe I was getting YouTube comments about it. I remember one day, like, I was watching the views on YouTube, and like all of a sudden, like, there was a big spike in views. I was like, well, where does this come from? And then I was like, saw in the comments that Nick Mason's Facebook page or something had shared that because at the time Nick Mason was always sharing like posts from like a website. I don't really know what it was or something, but like that's where my video appeared, and like obviously I gave it a good amount of views.
So Ewan Cunningham, the other channel, not the covers, is your original music. So, and you released something last year. Do you want to just talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, now I've released at least two of my own like original albums now. I think I
Okay,
released one 2018 and then one during the pandemic. Like it might have been 2020.
right. Okay.
And yeah, it was just like once I had learned guitar and I knew drums, I was like, well, next step is to make my own music, like not just do covers or whatever. So I just got into writing and trying to write, trying to write good melodies. And it's a lot harder than it looks. It's a lot harder than doing covers, in my opinion. But yeah, so I again, like I recorded everything myself, like all the keyboards, done all the singing. Like I really wanted to be like that. And the first album is like, it's basically my version of Dark Side of the Moon. Like every song like flows into each other. It's like one big album, and
Right. Yeah.
so that was my ambition, to make every song like fade into each other like it does on Dark Side. So I did that. And I've also like on Spotify and stuff, like some of my covers are there. Like I took like 5 or so of my favorite covers and like remixed them, like re-edited them. And so they're also on Spotify.
But you've also got a science one called Primal Space. I mean, talk to me a little bit about this channel.
Yeah, it may seem a bit random, like the two channels don't mix over at all, music and space. But this is like the Primal Space one is what I do every day. It's my job, it's how I make a living. And I started that in 2018.
Okay.
Just because I've always loved space and science. I've always been into that. So I was like, I had a feeling of I wanted to make a new YouTube channel, I was like, so what could I do that's different that I've not done before? So I was like, and I was kind of watching similar like science videos at the time, really into that. So I just thought, well, I'll try and make one of my own. So I started writing a script, and then I got like this American guy to do the voiceover, like the narration. Then I made the first video about SpaceX, and it went like viral. Like I posted it on Reddit, and it got like 500,000 views straight away.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I should make another one. And so I was like, I'll make one every month, I'll just be very consistent with it. And then, I kept making them, and the channel started to grow, and I was like, wow, I could do this as an actual business. It was like something I'd maybe thought about as a kid watching YouTube, thinking like seeing the people that were doing it as a job. I was like, oh, that must be great. Like you work from home, like you do your own thing, you're like creating stuff all the time. So yeah, like always wanted to do something like that, and that channel blew up, so it was a perfect channel to do it with.
Amazing. So this is kind of your day job, and it looks like this effort has gone into it. It's not just thrown together. You can tell this is high quality content.
Yeah, in a way, it's like all the years like when I was a kid spent just on my computer editing and like doing nothing else. Like it's led up to that, but yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. But that's like the thing I love about doing YouTube is that you're not just doing one thing. Like you might if you work for a TV program, like you do the writing, you do the editing, you do like all the thumbnail making, you do like promotion, you have to write descriptions and stuff. You have to do everything. So it's really satisfying when you start from nothing and you end up with a really good, like well polished video, and then it gets views. That's the ultimate reward.
Pink Floyd is obviously a major part of your musical catalogue. It is something you listen to, something you play. Where did that addiction start? Which album, and what was the spark? And you do a lot of covers from The Wall as well, I noticed. I mean, which you've got Live in Pompeii and The Wall, and you do a lot of Animals. So just which ones do you lean towards now? What's your favorite? Or have you gone, that was my favorite for a while, and then I've moved on to that?
Yeah, I think like you definitely go through phases in a way. But like the way I got started was my dad. Like my dad, when I was growing up, always listened to that kind of music, Pink Floyd, Dire Straits, Led Zeppelin and stuff. So when I was that age, it was just like going in my head always, even if I wasn't aware of what I was listening to, it was like going in my head. And car journeys and stuff, always like Pink Floyd and stuff. But especially the Pompeii film, like my dad is obsessed with that. I think he went to see it in the cinema when it came out in the 70s or whatever. Right. So he likes that, and he's always had like I think he had a VHS maybe, and then he had a DVD version. So I probably saw that when I was like 2 or something. I don't even know.
Yeah.
So like, but then around when I was 17, I started, because before then, like I didn't really listen to a lot of really old music, because I was like an early teenager. But then once I started to listen to Pink Floyd, I don't know, I just got like sucked in. It was like I got sucked in.
Yeah.
And because I really liked the lyrics, like mainly the lyrics. I would listen to them and I was just like, this is incredible. Like not only is the music incredible, but the lyrics also, like they say something, whereas every other song at that time just seemed to just be like a good melody or like a good catchy tune. So I think at first, what song maybe? I think it was probably something from Dark Side of the Moon, like Money, I think was or maybe Money or Time was really what got me. I remember it was like I had Spotify and I was like making a playlist, and it was like the one that was always on the playlist. Then from there, I think you start reading online about how big Dark Side of the Moon is, and like what it, it's a whole album from start to finish, so you have to listen to it all in one.
Yeah.
I did that obviously, and then like Brain Damage and Eclipse became my favorite thing of all time. Right. Like that ending with the way it builds up, it's still like it gives me goosebumps if I listen to it. And then from there, I don't know, like probably I got into watching Pompeii, especially Echoes. I mean, I think the Echoes at Pompeii is like, in my opinion, the best live performance ever done. Like it's incredible, and I just listened to it so many times and watched it. Like especially the drumming in the Pompeii version is like stuck in my head. I know every single little beat. Like I can predict it coming, and it's so good. Even if I don't listen to it for like a year, I watch it again, and like I can still like ear drum to it. I always ear drum to it. It's incredible. So yeah, I just got sucked in, and I think I went through every album at one point and listened to it all. Maybe apart from like the older stuff. The older stuff, like Division Bell and Momentary Lapse of Reason, never caught my attention so much.
Right.
I don't know why. I was just always into the older stuff, even like the crazy Sid Barrett stuff, like even his solo albums I got into.
Yeah. And The Wall, I mean, like you said, you do quite a few songs from The Wall. Is that one of those where you got into the individual tracks, or was you like me, where it was like, if I listen to it, I need to listen to all 4 sides in one sitting? It became a bit of an addiction of mine as a teenager, was that album from start to finish.
The Wall was like difficult because it is so long and it's like quite dark, to be honest.
Very dark.
You have to be in a mood to watch it. I don't know if I got into listening to the whole thing so much with that one, just because it was so long. But for sure, like every song on it at one point, like I was obsessed with.
Yeah.
I can remember like certain points in time where it was all about Nobody Home, or like all in the Fleshies, and even all the little 30-second songs on the album.
Yeah.
I really liked. And I did 3 covers from The Wall. I did Comfortably Numb, Mother, and In the Flesh.
Yeah.
I thought that would be a good 3 to do.
Yeah.
I haven't done Pompeii, do like The Wall, and obviously Comfortably Numb had to be
the Comfortably Numb solo as well. I mean,
yeah. I was very happy with that. I was very happy with the sound on that in general. Even the singing, like the backing vocals and stuff, like how I mixed it, I was very happy with that, because it's a great sounding album, really.
Yeah. And then so you've done your YouTube, you've done your thing, and it's kind of gone crazy, and the internet has just blown up about it. Mm-hmm. You got Nick Mason's talking about you, and then how does your contact with the Australian Pink Floyd happen?
Somehow I knew a guy. I was friends with a guy in America who actually did covers with, like, we did a cover together of a song from Animals, because he was also really into Pink Floyd. And somehow he told me about Steve, because he was like going to interview him. I think he was doing like a bit of journalism for a magazine, and they were coming to America, and I think they like did a little interview, and I think they started talking about me. And then Steve said, I think he'd seen my Echoes videos, or he'd seen some of my covers.
Yeah.
And so then my friend in America put me in touch with Steve. And I think I emailed him just to say like, hey, how's it going? Like, I'm a big fan of everything and stuff. And then like, he was just very friendly. Like, we started chatting on email. And then he was like, oh, well, it would be good to meet you. Like, come to one of the shows. So I met him in Glasgow, 2017. I was already going to see them. I think like my friends, my friend was also a big fan, so we went together and we got backstage passes and stuff. It was very exciting. We got to
Amazing.
meet everyone, and I was just like, I was so like shy in a way. It was just all a big eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
And then like just since then, he was always like, well, yeah, we'll keep in touch, you know, if anything happens or whatever. And then yeah, then I got told like I would get the chance to do it. So I was like, well, I need to play guitar every day for the next year, basically, and practice. So I did that.
And so, I mean, if anybody doesn't know, you then went on tour with the Australian Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a beautiful photo of you on your Instagram, of the back of you at the Hydro. That is such a lovely shot.
Yeah.
And how did that feel to play at your hometown, you know?
Yeah, that one was crazy. And it was the biggest show we did, I think, in the Hydro in Glasgow. And like, you know, my family were there, my friends were up in the balcony with like, they had a big banner that said like, we love Ewan or something. It was super nice. But like that picture, like I really wanted to get that picture. And for the previous few shows, me and my guitar tech, like we were kind of practicing like how we could get the picture. So like, I just like had my phone there on stage in that position, and it was like sitting inside like a roll of gaffer tape, and like that was the only thing keeping it up. And like, I didn't know if it was going to be a good picture. I like when we came on for the last two songs, I just like set it to take a picture every 5 seconds.
Right. Okay.
Then like after the show, I was looking, I was like, oh, it's perfect. It's exactly how I imagined it. I loved it.
But, I mean, I hope you've got that framed somewhere. That is a great shot.
Yeah, I should really print it out actually. That's a good
idea. How many shows did you do with them?
And the UK tour was like 30, and then in the French tour it was around 20. I think it was about 50 overall, 50 or 60. Yeah, so it was intense. There was a lot of shows.
Is that your first big experience of touring in that sense? Yeah.
Yeah, like, I had zero experience. I hadn't even played guitar in front of a person before I did the first show. Like,
what?
My experience was completely zero. I was like,
you're joking.
No, I was absolutely thrown in the deep end. I've never done a concert. The only concert I've done was drums, and I've done maybe 5 gigs in front of maybe like a couple of hundred people at most.
Wow.
So I think the first gig was in Ipswich, and it was like, you know, a couple thousand, maybe a few thousand. And yeah, just went and did it.
Yeah.
I mean, I practiced a lot, you know.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, your nerves go one way or another with that, don't you? I mean, you either go, just enjoy it, or you collapse. I mean, you obviously went with it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I really didn't know if I would collapse, like when it came to the time, because you know, no matter how much practice you've done, like it's so different doing it in front of people on stage, you know. Yeah. And there's so much pressure also, like to you know, they do everything perfectly. You know, they're trying to recreate the music. Everything has to be perfect. And Steve is
such
also
a high-profile show as well. You know.
It's, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And obviously, like I was like the new guy coming in, and everyone kind of knew the band member. They knew how they looked and stuff. And all of a sudden, there was this random guy playing guitar. So yeah. But
apart from the 58,000 people who follow you, who are like, yes, it's you. And the biggest comment I get on the videos is that Ewan on the drums?
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean, like it happened in some of the shows, like sometimes you'd be playing the guitar, and like you just start looking at people in the crowd, and like and some people would be looking at you in a strange way, and you'd be like, why are they looking at me so much? And then at the interval, I would get like a message on Instagram saying, is that you playing guitar?
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's me. And then like they would come up at the end and like ask for the guitar picks. I'd like throw them at.
Brilliant.
Oh, nice to meet you.
And how did you feed off that? I mean, did you enjoy playing in front of that many people?
I did, but it is also very like tense in a way. I think especially in the first tour, like I was very like, you know, I was just so focused on playing guitar, like I couldn't, you know, maybe relax. But on the second tour, I relaxed much more. And I was like not so bothered. I was like moving around the stage more. Like you really feel it if you're nervous, because you're just like locked in place and you feel like you can't move. But then once you relax, you know, you can, you play better as well. You know, you're so uptight and you can just relax. But in general, it was scary, I would say.
Okay, fair enough. And so you're no longer with them.
No.
So you've decided to come and follow other avenues. So are you still doing any live shows at all? Are you playing in a local band? I mean, because obviously from what you've just said, you've never been like a big pub club player getting up to that level. Is that something you're interested in, or?
Well, I wouldn't say I really am in a way. Like, I mean, obviously, I had to give it a go. Like, something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that is incredible. But I mean, like, I've never done that growing up. Like, I've always just played on my own in my house, you know, like that's kind of what I enjoy the most, I think. And that's why I learned every instrument so I could do everything myself because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So, like,
Yeah.
if no one's going to do it exactly like how I want it, then I'll do it myself. That's my attitude. If that's bad, I don't care. But
It seems to have done you very well.
yeah, so that's always kind of how I am, especially with music. I mean, I think like if I was in a band and like everything was great, then good. But
Yeah,
I just love what I do with YouTube. Like it's always been my goal to have like a job where I work for myself and like, you know, you have time freedom.
yeah,
So for me, like being on tour realistically is, you know, you're away for months and every night you have to be here and you have to do this.
yeah.
Like for me, it just didn't fit like how I
Right.
want to operate, if you know what I mean.
No, no, I get it. The road is it's a can be quite a hard life, you know, because
Mm.
like you said, you're waking up in a different place every day, and you know, it's
Yeah,
um you do miss your own pillow eventually.
yeah. I mean, there's only like hotel rooms aren't the best,
No.
you know.
And I don't think a lot of people think that you travel around and see a lot of places, but you don't really. You kind of see venues in different places. You kind of leave one building to go into another building. You don't really
Exactly.
realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone like has this. Well, I mean, I also too had like a sort of image of what touring would be like. Like, oh, it must be so glamorous. You get to like see every city. You're
Yeah.
playing in front of so many people. But yeah, exactly. In reality, you're in these purpose-built venues that all look the same, especially in France. Every building is just this concrete dome, and
Big
that's it.
grey breeze blocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where lorries can drive in and drop
Yeah.
gear off. Yeah.
When an opportunity like that comes up, like you just have to do it. Like
Yeah.
there's no because obviously you would regret not doing it. You know, you have to give everything a try. And yeah, I agree. Like it's best to try something as soon as possible and then not put years investing into it and then realize that it's not for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But you're a very technical person, clearly, to be able to do all the things that you've achieved. I mean, it's not everybody who can throw together that 4K video of themselves playing all these instruments and
yeah,
and meticulously plan it all out and edit it and do all the sound recording, the mixing, the mastering. You know, that is a huge set of technological skills. Um, but you were saying earlier on that lots of guitar pedals and that kind of technology is not something that you're really sort of that you don't really geek out about that. But then when you walk into the Australian Pink Floyd show, there is a lot of technology, and Pink Floyd have been clearly a driving force for technology in music. You know, how did you get on with that transition? And you say you had a guitar tech. Did they help with that? And you know, how did that work?
yeah, that was maybe the most difficult thing about doing it. Like once I had learned, because practice for those shows like was just me playing guitar like to a backing track in my house. You know, I didn't have the pedals there, so I
Right,
just kind of had to imagine what I had to do. And then in September last year, so like a month before the shows, that was when I first got to play around with the pedals themselves.
right.
So like Steve gave me like a 1 week workshop basically of how everything works, and it's like, oh my god, there's a
Yeah,
lot here. I mean, it's insane. And you know, he's got. I mean, it's well, really well done. Like, you know, he's obviously made that over the course of like 30 years.
yeah.
It works extremely well. So you've got like, you know, the pedal board switcher, and there's like a million patches. You know, you go through every song, and there's maybe 2, 3, or 5 different patches, and you have to know exactly when to change to them throughout the song. And he also had 3 pedals, so like two of them were like basically volume pedals,
Yeah.
and then one was more of an expression pedal. But one of them was like a volume pedal, like an input volume, I think. Like I don't know so much.
Okay.
I just like practiced and tried to learn. One of them was like an input, and then one of them was like the volume after all the effects had gone on, basically.
Right.
And
Okay.
then the one on the right would do anything. Like it depended. It was like depending on what part of the song you were in, it would maybe reduce the delay. It would maybe add some EQ. You know, it was
Okay.
different for every patch.
So it was
So
an expression pedal, but it was depending on the patch that you're in, it would have a different use for that expression.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so like you really just had to memorize, and it was just kind of muscle memory, like remembering exactly when to use it. But if you like doing it so many times, practicing it, like you do start to, it just becomes muscle memory. Like you know when to do it and stuff. But I mean, it was all very well built, but sometimes there was like some issues during the shows, like nothing big. But I
Yeah.
remember during the start of Shine On, like I do the solo at the start, and like it just didn't sound quite right. Like it sounded really dead. And I remember like while I was doing it, looking at my guitar tech and seeing if he looked worried or not, and I don't
Yeah.
think he looked that worried. So then after the song, I told him like, oh, something wasn't right there. And then so the next day, like it's a case of I think Steve was sending us messages, and he was like, do this, do that, and like we were investigating it, and I think they had to replace one pedal,
Right.
or just like fix a few wires that were a bit loose or something.
Yeah.
Because it's a cabinet just full of pedals,
Yeah.
and a million wires, so the chances of something going wrong are quite high, really. But,
Yeah, I mean, and it's I mean, the pedal board that you've got in front of you is actually quite small, but I don't think people realize is that there are dozens and dozens and dozens of pedals in a rack mounted system behind you that's controlling. Because if you had them laid out in front of you, you'd look like you belong in the Chili Peppers. There's
and
so many pedals
dancing everywhere.
Yeah,
like, all
exactly.
over.
You'd never be able to do it. But
Yeah.
to move that, stick it in a lorry, drive it across the country, unload it every day. I mean, just to have a few niggles like that is nothing really, considering what's
Yeah.
happening to the gear.
I mean, that really impressed me, like the team, the crew behind it, like because like I said, like I had no experience with touring or anything, so stuff like that. Everyone else, like in the crew, was obviously used to it. They've been doing it for like years and years. But to me, everything was brand new. It was like watching the people load all the equipment. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing! Like forklifts going up onto the stage, and I even like because I'm really into like filming and video and stuff. I filmed like a time lapse of them setting all the equipment up.
Oh, amazing.
So it was like super cool to see that. But yeah, the equipment in general is just massive. Like, and all the lights, and the fact that they have to do that every night, pack it up and set it up.
But you have the band is known for having a great crew, isn't it? I mean, just if you look at the amount of bodies there making that happen, it's done properly, isn't it?
Yeah. And I guess it's like the same with every band that size in a way. Like everything works like clockwork. Everyone knows what their job is. They do the same routine every day. They know exactly what to do. So it's just impressive to watch.
So the guitars themselves, did you get to use Steve's guitars?
Yes, I had to use Steve really because it's all integrated. Like his guitars have like this MIDI circuit in them, and his guitars are insane. Really, like you look at them and you've got the volume knob and the tone knob, but that's not what they are. They don't work. He's got them wired up in weird ways to do various different things. To be honest, I still don't know like what they did. I just knew what I had to do. Like on Shine On, I had to turn the volume knob down to like 2. But it wasn't the volume knob, it was something else, And it was all, so I couldn't just turn up and use my own guitar because it didn't have any of that in it.
It was a fully integrated system, isn't it? I mean, you watched that again in one of the videos that we did when he's doing the twist in the volume. I was like, what is he doing there? He's like, it's clearly not volume.
Yeah, it's all like, it does like, it affects tone and everything like that. And it's very specific and all the pickups are different, really. But I think it was like that on the Strat. So I play a Strat, an acoustic, and a Tele for like one song. I think the Tele was normal because like it didn't have the like on the guitar Strat, like you had the normal guitar cable, and then you had like a MIDI cable, which was so awkward to plug into the Strat. Like every night I would kind of struggle like trying to get it in. And same on the acoustic. Like I used to get my guitar tech to come out when I was putting on the acoustic with a torch and shine it where the MIDI hole was. So hard to get in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was only 3 guitars, so it wasn't so bad, and most of it was on the Strat, so I didn't really have to change much.
And how did it feel compared to your Strat? Because, like you said, you don't have banks of guitars. You kind of been quite loyal to that one Strat that you've had for a long time. So,
but that Strat was really good. Like it was an American, I think, so it was just.
It felt quite similar to yours. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt better, really. Like it's you can tell it's a higher quality guitar, and I think Steve's modded it a bit over the years, so it was just really nice. The neck was nice and smooth. It was probably a similar size to because I've got a Mexican Strat, but yeah, it felt pretty similar. It was just really nice to use.
A little bit more about you. I mean, what do you do for fun? I mean, you play multiple instruments, and you've done that as like a living as well as a hobby, and then YouTube. that's turned into work. You know, that's your job, which is what you wanted. It was the dream that's come true. You've done the big touring. What's your downtime? What's your fun thing to do? Because a lot of what you do for your work, that's most people's downtime. What's yours?
Yeah, no, like it's the one bad thing about working like for yourself is that it's hard to separate work time and then like
Yeah.
rest of your social time. But I have always had like a million hobbies really. Like I also paint a lot.
Okay.
Like I painted a lot like as a kid, but then stopped for some reason. And then just like a few years ago, I thought, oh, like I have time, like I want to get back into painting, so I just started doing it. And then I did like a painting of a NASA rocket, like the Saturn V that went to the moon. And then I thought, well, it's nice. Maybe someone would want to buy it. So I posted it online, and then like someone that used to work for NASA like liked it and they bought it. Someone in America. I was like, oh great, I can paint. So I just
Oh
sent
my
it to
God,
America.
you really have got the Midas touch, haven't you? Just like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it perfectly.
But yeah, like that's my attitude for everything. Like especially creative things, I just want to do. I want to try everything that's creative. It's more
Yeah.
like a need. Like if I've not done something creative in a while, I'm frustrated. Like I want to do something. I want to paint. I want to play guitar or whatever. So I do that. Like I don't. It's not a job, I would say, but every now and then I do sell one. But it's mostly a hobby. Like I do one every month or two.
Okay.
It's definitely like that's my spare time. I also like to run. Like I got into running a lot, but I used to hate that when I was a kid. Another thing, but I love that now. I don't know. I just like I really like living abroad right now. Like I'd always kind of wanted to live in a different country, especially since like I could work from my laptop. I could live anywhere. So I had like a list of countries I wanted to go to and just try living, for a month or so.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Hamburg, but I've liked it so much, and I have friends there, so I'm staying there. But it's great. I just love meeting like people from different countries and stuff like that, and talking to them. It's really good. And right now, I'm learning Spanish because my girlfriend is Spanish.
Wonderful.
So
And how are you getting on with that?
good. I've only been doing it seriously for like 3 or 4 months, but that's why I started like learning myself, like just teaching online and stuff, which was good. And then like talking to my girlfriend helps a bit, and like she speaks perfect English, but her family don't speak any English. So whenever I meet them, like either I speak a bit of Spanish or I just sit there like a bit of furniture and say nothing.
Yeah.
Which is what happens basically. So I do have to learn Spanish.
So now that you're in Spain, you can immerse yourself into that community, and that's going to be much easier to pull that forward, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's much easier when you're here because you're just constantly hearing Spanish, on TV, everything's Spanish, and people in Spain don't speak so much English, so like you really actually have to.
Okay.
But I went to a school actually just for a week, like a couple of weeks ago. I've not been in school since high school, so it was like going back. But it was very good. Like it was like a class for idiots, really, because no one spoke barely any Spanish, but the teacher obviously like he spoke very slowly, and the whole class was in Spanish, which was great. You could just understand what he was saying, with the context and the things he was pointing at. So it was very good for like being able to speak it. Like it helped my confidence a lot. But it's fun. It's like I've never tried to learn a language, but like once you sort of start to get the gist of it, it's very satisfying.
Right.
But it just takes a while.
Yeah. And what's next for Ewan? What's your next big adventure?
My next big adventure, I don't know. I want to continue doing YouTube, although I always think now, like I would love to do another YouTube channel. Like it's definitely my thing. So I'm every day I'm thinking like, oh, I could do that, and once I come across the idea, I think I will do it.
You go for that.
But I'll keep my space channel going, and who knows, maybe keep doing some more paintings, and nothing. I would like to like buy like a flat or something soon. Like I really want to get into doing maybe that, like buy a place and do it up. I would love to.
Okay.
Because I'm also like when I was a kid, I was very into woodwork and stuff like that, like hands-on things, and I've not had a chance to do that since I was like a kid. So I would love to get back into that. Like I always talk about that with my girlfriend. Like if I had a house somewhere and I had like a garage, I would make it into a workshop and I would just do that kind of thing all day long.